All right, prime time. I'm Constance Ikoku. For the rest of the show, I'm joined by legislative governance expert and policy analyst Chibuzor Okereke. Glad to have you today.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Let's start with Rivers. You listened to the first guest. What is your take on this attack that was meant to take away election materials for tomorrow?
Well, what I think is having democracy banditry, is going on in Rivers. Because number one, if that allegation, is true, then we are in for a bigger issue. Because under the Police Act, the police is responsible to provide security, prevent crime. So they cannot be the one that will be leading, something that is undemocratic and actually can affect the peace and order, of the state. So I think that is very wrong. And I listened to the statement that police had withdrawn, they will not provide security. That cannot even happen under the law. That will on its own be a breach of the statutory responsibilities of the police. And be sure that somebody will challenge the police on that. So I don't think that that statement is even correct in the first place. Even if you're trying to obey an order not to provide security for election, you still have statutory mandate to provide security for peace and order of the entire state.
So what we're saying is that it's a picture of a situation getting out of hand, because tomorrow, if there's no police in the streets, anyone can take advantage of the situation. Don't you think so?
Yeah, but also maybe this can demystify the role of security agencies in an election. And by the way, the police is not the only security body that we have. We've got the civil defense and other allied security agencies, and I believe they will be on duty to provide security. The governor declared a curfew from midnight today through to 4 p.m. on Saturday. Who are the people that are going to enforce it? So I think that agencies of government have to also understand what their statutory roles are under the law, irrespective of whatever circumstance or interest they may wish to serve. You cannot do anything that breaches your statutory role. That on its own will be against the spirit of the Constitution and the enabling act that established the police. So the police will be failing in their statutory role by not making sure that people are safe tomorrow in Rivers and people are protected, and nobody will take advantage of this seeming intimidatory pronouncement that they will not be there. And if eventually they are not on the street and the people took over the security of the election, then we have finally demystified the issue of sending 35,000 police officers with trucks across states for elections.
I guess made a point earlier today in one of our show here on the Rise that the politicians in Rivers put together might not even be up to 20% of the entire population.
Not even up to 5%.
All right, so they cannot hold the people to ransom. Do you agree with that sentiment?
Absolutely. The interesting thing is that we are converting state apparatus to personal use. This is the biggest challenge. Every single individual in Nigeria is under the law as the Constitution had provided for. So when state officials, maybe because of position they have attained, now decide to arrogate institutional power to themselves, then you're dismembering the nation and the state. And this is the problem that we have. So, and this is also a call for citizens to realize that Nigeria or Rivers State do not belong to politicians. It belongs to the people. So you cannot allow those who have chosen politics as their profession to run the state down, run businesses down, run activities down, threaten people and send them into their homes, because of an election. That cannot happen, because if you go back just few years back, those people were not in that position. Today they are in that position. Under the law, they will exit that position in the nearest future. So if you mortgage the future of the state today, then you are creating a problem that will be worse, tomorrow.
You're literally asking people to defend themselves or defend their states. But some will also say that they are afraid for their lives, truly, especially in violent situations.
Why should they be afraid? The price for freedom, they say, is liberty. Sometimes the price for freedom is also prison. It has been said. So, you see, the interesting thing in Nigeria is that the politicians are very much aware that political literacy is at the lowest level in the country, that the people practically had abandoned and donated their sovereign oversight of electoral process, civic participation to those who have acquired political power. That is the biggest challenge we face. If the people show up to exercise their sovereignty and the franchise, then the politicians will begin to realize that we are actually holding positions in trust on behalf of the people. That is not the story in Nigeria, and that is the challenge we face. So, if the interesting thing is that Section 7(4) of the Constitution gives the state government the power to ensure that voters who voted in the state assembly election are able to participate in local government election. And these are some of the drafting mischief that we have, because rather than give the power to an institution empowered to do so, is given to state government. And there are a lot of other drafting mischief challenges around local government administration that is creating the kind of crisis we have today. For instance, the state has power to ensure that people vote and be voted for in a local government system, but they have to need a voter register from an INEC that is at federal level. These are the challenges that we face.
So I was coming to that because the state independent electoral commission is supposed to organize the elections, and then there seems to be a blurring of lines now between the state and the Independent National Electoral Commission of the national. Doesn't that pose a problem?
It's a big challenge. The question is, under the law, can INEC at national deny issuing voter register to the state Independent Electoral Commission? And the answer is no. It is not a property of INEC. It's actually a property of the state. They are just holding it brief for the purpose of election governance and administration. And this is the challenge that we have. How can the Constitution in one breath in Section 7(4) ask the state government to ensure that their citizens vote and be voted for in a local government election? And another breath, powers are given to a different institution to provide the register by which they will do so. And if you go to Part 2 of the third schedule on the State Electoral Commission provision, you will see that the State Independent Electoral Commission have a role to play in advising INEC on voter register compilation. So they have to work in synergy to make sure that people exercise their franchise, unlike what we are seeing today.
Well, synergy is not what is happening in Rivers right now. So how do the court cases that are coming out of that state going to impact the elections?
It's time for us to start asking questions. The role of the judiciary in our electoral system. Today in Nigeria, you almost can't become anything. Even a party chairman, candidate in an election, president of the Federal Republic, without court pronouncement. This is no longer judicial activism. This is like meddlesome, interloper in an independent affair. The election in a democratic system is the only variable that empowers the citizen to select their leaders. Now, if you transfer that franchise and sovereign power they have under the Constitution to another elite group, which in this case, the judiciary, we are in a big challenge. Democracy cannot thrive in a system where the judiciary interferes. For instance, the Section 7 says the system of local government by democratically elected people is hereby guaranteed by the Constitution. So, and the court is an agent of the law. How are you able to say the election cannot hold when the Constitution have said so, and even the Supreme Court, which is the highest court of the land, have said this election should go ahead. So individuals or groups should not, for whatever political interest, arrogate institutional democratic powers to themselves, as if we exist in a country where only politicians live and their interests, what they want is what should be served to the people. That is absolutely wrong.
When you talk about the role of the courts, you also have to bear in mind that it is the politicians that go to the courts to ask for all these judgments in order to advance their interests. So, No,
but the court has a mandate under the law to reject whatever proposition people bring before it that is not in line with the rule of law. The SAN made a very clear point about the fact that you have to take an oath to swear that there is no multiplicity of case, or the case for which you're seeking injunction is not pending in any other court. And the fact that the jurisdiction of the Federal High Court does not cover local government elections at state level. So the court itself, as an agent that expresses the will and the spirit of the law, has to begin to function in line with the law. If not, we'll be leading a very, very, crisis-ridden country. If democratic institutions like the court are not able to function, consensuously without being interfered by political actors.
You're someone that, you're an analyst and you follow current affairs in Nigeria. From what you've seen in the past, what are the prospects for peace and reconciliation in Rivers, because the citizens need it?
It's for the citizens to take their destiny in their own hands. I have said, under the laws, you can only serve highest 8 years as a governor. 8 years as governor, president 8 years, at least who have been able to sustain that one since 1999 till now. The citizens must not abandon their faith to political actors. We need to step out, activate active citizenship, have absolute and high-level political literacy. Come into the political arena, understand that your personal success, personal economy, a lot of things around you is impacted by the political economy of the country. Right. So politics drives economy. And if you leave it for a select few, then it will affect you one way or the other.
In a very short time, what do you think about the youth confab? Very, very briefly.
Well, I think the youth confab is an excellent decision by the president, but a number of things need to be dealt with. How the delegates will be selected, what will be the aftermath of the conference, and how decisions at that conference will be implemented. That will be central. Yeah.
Okay, Chibuzor Okereke, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.